national des arts à Ottawa. Le débat des chefs 2008.
Mesdames, Messieurs, bonsoir et bienvenue à ce débat des chefs.
Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2008 Leaders Debate. It is less than 2 weeks to the election, and this evening's debate is taking place at a time when we are all concerned about the very serious financial crisis. As a result, we are spending a lot of time focusing on the economy. For the first time in the campaign, the leaders of the 5 main Canadian political parties will be able to have an open exchange and go head-to-head on various issues. I'd like to thank, starting on my left, Elizabeth May from the Green Party of Canada, Stephen Harper from the Conservative Party of Canada, Jack Layton from the New Democratic Party, Stéphane Dion from the Liberal Party of Canada, and Gilles Duceppe from the Bloc Québécois. The leaders' seating assignment and the order in which they will be answering the public's questions, introducing each of this evening's themes, are based on a draw. Moreover, so that leaders have more time to debate, especially on the economy, we've decided there will be no opening or closing statements. The parties were informed of this yesterday. For the periods of debate, we will ensure that each leader gets the same speaking time. However, this evening's format is one of the most flexible ever in the history of these debates, and the rules will allow for as much exchange as possible. So congratulations to the leaders who have courageously agreed to take part in this evening's debate. However, if one candidate or another is over-enthusiastic and stops someone else from speaking, I may have to intervene and even turn off that person's microphone. So, without further ado, we're going to start with the economy. 40 seconds for each leader to start with a response to each leader's member of the public's questions. Stéphane Bourassa.
Voici ma question.
Here's my question.
Aux États-Unis, l'économie va très mal.
In the United States, the economy is in bad shape.
Tôt ou tard, cette crise va toucher le Canada.
Sooner or later, this crisis will hit Canada. We'd like to know what you're going to do, what you have done to protect ordinary citizens and people who have savings.
The first question for 45 seconds, Mr. Harper.
Thank you. First, I'd like to say that Canada is not the United States. The situation is very different from it. The basics, the fundamentals of our economy are strong. We have a surplus, a budget surplus. We have an economy that continues to create jobs. We're not experiencing a crisis in our financial system. The big challenge, as far as I'm concerned, is to stay on the right track, to ensure that we continue to lower our taxes, to target our spending, base them on the real needs of real Canadians, and to keep in surplus mode. This is not the time for new taxes, or for increased taxes, or for deficits.
Thank you, Mr. Harper. Now it's Mr. Dion's turn.
Well, sir, you're perfectly right. The government has to do something. We can't just let things continue. So I myself, I promise that within the first 30 days, a Liberal government will ask the regulatory agencies of Canada, like the Bank of Canada, their recommendations so as that it better protects the savings of Canadians. And so the major economists should also give us an assessment of the Canadian and the world situation. Third, we have an economic and fiscal statement which would set out measures to stimulate the economy to create jobs and for the manufacturing sector.
Thank you, Mr. Dion. Madame May.
Thank you very much, Stéphane Bourassa, for your question. Your question deals with an important issue. Truly, there is a credit crisis and a real estate crisis in the United States. It's a serious matter, but that doesn't mean that there will be a crisis here in Canada. But we do have problems. The fundamentals of our economy are weaker because of Mr. Harper's policies. He made decisions that are bad for the manufacturing sector in particular, for the forestry sector as well. We have to change the economy's direction. We have to make it greener, more sustainable, and more careful.
Thank you, Madame May. The floor is now yours, Mr. Duceppe.
Mr. Bourassa is rightly concerned. There are two two visions that oppose one another in this, Mr. Harper's vision and Quebec's. Mr. Harper is a laissez-fairist, like Mr. Bush, and we see the disaster happening in the United States now. This in a context where Canada has two economies, big oil, which is protected and favored by Mr. Harper's government with huge tax advantages at the expense of manufacturing and forestry, which is largely in Ontario and Quebec. And there's also the importance of culture, which is a significant economic driver. There's also the environment. You can't separate that from the economy. This is sustainable development. And Mr. Harper is out of step with Quebec. We have to reorient our economy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Duceppe. Mr. Layton.
Thank you. Families like yours, Mr. Bourassa, are very worried about the economy. That's quite clear. You're looking for a government that will understand that protecting your savings, your mortgage, your home, your job, your pension is very important for a government. But the harmful policies of Mr. Harper haven't done that. Mr. Harper, your tax cuts for the big oil companies and for the banks are not the right direction to go for Canada. Look at what's happened in the States. You have a great opportunity here to do something different, something new, one thing, and it's up to you.
Thank you.